To millions, he was America's favorite grandpa, a quirky, lovable, cantankerous old man who limped his way into the heart of the nation. He was the first actor to ever win 3 Academy Awards, a record in the Best Supporting Actor category that still stands to this day. His face is etched into the Mount Rushmore of classic cinema, a symbol of homespun wisdom and folksy charm. You know him as Grandpa Amos McCoy, as the loyal sidekick to John Wayne and Humphrey Bogart, as the toothless old-timer with a heart of gold. But the man America loved was a carefully crafted illusion. Off-screen, a very different and disturbing picture emerges, one of deep-seated bigotry, extreme political paranoia, and a hatred so profound it reportedly shocked his co-stars. This is the story of the man you thought you knew, and the dark reality many don't realize about who Walter Brennan truly was. It's a story about how one of Hollywood's most celebrated actors may have also been one of its most hateful men. How does a man who won 3 Oscars in 5 years and became a beloved TV icon get all but erased from public memory? It's not just the passage of time. It's about a legacy so tarnished by hate and defined by extremism that it became easier for Hollywood to just let him fade away. The story of Walter Brennan is a chilling look at the power of a persona and how a lovable character on screen can mask a monstrous reality. It all started with a simple, unassuming life that gave no hint of the darkness to come. Walter Andrew Brennan was born on July 25, 1894, in Lynn, Massachusetts, to Irish immigrant parents. His dad was a successful engineer and inventor, and everyone expected young Walter would follow a similar path. He even went to Ringe Technical High School, basically a prep school for MIT. But from a young age, Brennan was drawn to the stage, not the workshop, and started performing in vaudeville at just 15. His early life was a string of odd jobs and adventures that seemed to build the perfect backstory for his future characters. He was a bank messenger, a ditch digger, and maybe even a pineapple farmer in Guatemala, though that last one is up for debate. But one chapter of his early life is undisputed and would change everything: his service in World War I. Brennan served with the 101st Field Artillery Regiment in France, where he was injured in a mustard gas attack. The gas severely damaged his vocal cords, leaving him with the distinctively high-pitched, grating voice that would become his trademark. What seemed like a tragic injury turned out to be the very thing that made him a star. After the war, Brennan returned home, married. His wife Ruth in 1920, a marriage that would last his entire life, and settled in California. He tried his hand at real estate, but when the market crashed in 1925, he turned to the booming film industry to make a living. He started as an extra and stuntman for $7.50 a day, where he befriended another up-and-comer, Gary Cooper. Their friendship would last a lifetime, and they'd make 7 films together, with Cooper as the hero and Brennan as his grizzled sidekick. For years, Brennan was a bit player, showing up in dozens of films in small, often uncredited roles. But his unique look, lanky, prematurely aged, and with that unforgettable voice, made him stand out. He had another trick, too. After an on-set accident in 1932 cost him several teeth, he could instantly age himself by decades just by taking out his dentures. Directors loved it. He'd famously ask, with or without teeth. This ability to play men far older than himself became his calling card. His big break came in 1936 with Come and Get It. His performance as an aging lumberjack was so powerful it couldn't be ignored. That same year, the Academy introduced the award for Best Supporting Actor, and Walter Brennan was the first person to ever win it. This wasn't just a win, it was a career maker. Suddenly, Walter Brennan was an Oscar-winning star, and he was just getting started. He won again in 1938 for Kentucky, and then a third time in 1940 for playing the infamous Judge Roy Bean in The Westerner, where many critics felt he completely stole the show from his friend Gary Cooper. 3 Oscars in 5 years. It was a stunning achievement that no other actor in his category has ever matched. His success was so unheard of that it reportedly forced the Academy to change its voting rules. Back then, extras were allowed to vote, and the story goes that they repeatedly voted for Brennan, one of their own who had made it big. After his third win, the Academy allegedly took away the extras' voting privileges to prevent one actor from dominating the awards. Throughout the 40s and 50s, Brennan became one of Hollywood's most beloved actors. He worked with legendary directors like Howard Hawks and John Ford, starring alongside icons like Humphrey Bogart in To Have and Have Not, and Henry Fonda in My Darling Clementine. He was the perfect sidekick, the crusty old-timer, the voice of wisdom in classics like Red River and Rio Bravo. But it was television that made him a national treasure. In 1957, he landed the lead role in the sitcom The Real McCoys. Brennan played Grandpa Amos McCoy, the cantankerous patriarch of a West Virginia family who moves to a farm in California. The show was a massive hit. For 6 years, America invited Grandpa Amos into their living rooms. He became the nation's grandfather, feisty, funny, and fundamentally decent. The line between Walter Brennan, the actor, and Grandpa Amos, the character, completely blurred. He was seen as a kindly, simple countryman, the embodiment of a nostalgic American ideal. This image, so carefully cultivated, was the foundation of his fame. It was also a complete lie. The man who projected such warmth on screen was, in reality, consumed by a cold, vicious hatred that would define the dark, hidden half of his life. While Walter Brennan was charming millions as Grandpa Amos, he was diving headfirst into far-right political extremism and paranoia. The man of the people character was a mask, and behind it was a man seething with fear and prejudice. His public embrace of this dark ideology became clear through his involvement with the John Birch Society. Founded in 1958, the John Birch Society was an ultra-conservative, anti-communist group known for its extreme views and conspiracy theories. Its members believed a massive communist conspiracy had infiltrated the U.S. government, schools, and media. For them, the Cold War was being fought right here at home. Walter Brennan wasn't just a supporter. He was a proud and vocal member. He fully embraced its paranoid worldview, reportedly branding anyone who supported politicians like JFK as a communist. In Brennan's world, you were either a staunch conservative or a traitor. This paranoia wasn't just talk. Brennan was what we'd now call a prepper. Convinced a Soviet invasion was just around the corner, he built a bunker at his home, stocked with a huge arsenal of firearms and survival supplies. His paranoia bled into his work life. In a truly bizarre example of his mindset, it's been widely reported that Brennan believed his friend and frequent co-star, the American icon John Wayne, was secretly a communist sympathizer. If the Duke couldn't be trusted, no one could. He was known to grill co-workers about who they voted for, and if anyone admitted to voting Democrat, he'd launch into a tirade about the nation's doom. But the most sinister part of Brennan's extremism was his view on the civil rights movement. He was convinced the entire movement was a communist plot, orchestrated by foreign agents to destabilize America. In interviews, he claimed that events like the Watts riots weren't genuine expressions of frustration over injustice, but the result of perfectly content Negroes being stirred up by a few troublemakers. He was quoted as saying that all this trouble with the Negroes is caused by just a few of them. His rhetoric was reportedly shocking. After the 1965 Watts riots, a civil uprising fueled by police brutality and racism, Brennan allegedly made the horrifying remark that the unrest could have been stopped with a machine gun. He weaponized his celebrity to spread this ideology. The most infamous example allegedly happened in 1965 at a John Birch Society convention. It has been claimed that Brennan recorded speeches in the familiar, folksy voice of Grandpa Amos McCoy, telling the audience that civil rights leaders were manipulating their own people to advance a communist takeover. He was using the trust he'd earned to sell a message of racism and fear. This dark side wasn't always hidden. Everett Greenbaum, a writer for The Real McCoys, later described Brennan as a bigot who often made racist remarks on set. His political endorsements hammered home his extremist reputation. He supported Barry Goldwater in 1964, largely because Goldwater voted against the Civil Rights Act. By 1972, he felt Richard Nixon was too liberal and instead backed far-right congressmen and fellow John Birch Society member John G. Schmitz. The image was now fractured. On one side, Grandpa Amos, the lovable curmudgeon. On the other, Walter Brennan, the political extremist, the paranoid prepper, and the man who used his platform to spread racist conspiracy theories. The full depth of his hate, however, would allegedly be revealed in his reaction to two of the most tragic moments in American history. The 1960s were a decade of incredible turmoil, marked by tragedies that shook the nation. For most Americans, the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Senator Robert F. Kennedy in 1968 were moments of deep national grief. But for Walter Brennan, according to numerous and disturbing reports, they were a cause for celebration. The most chilling story is said to have taken place on the set of his TV series, The Guns of Will Sonnet. On April 4, 1968, news broke that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had been assassinated. As shock and grief spread across the country, Brennan's reaction was allegedly one of grotesque glee. Crew members who were reportedly on set that day claimed that upon hearing the news, Brennan started to whoop and cheer. Some even alleged that he danced a triumphant jig. It's an image that's nearly impossible to reconcile with the grandpa America loved, a man celebrating the murder of a champion for peace. If true, it exposes a heart poisoned by active hatred. It's important to note, however, that these accounts are allegations from crew members, and some have disputed them by claiming the show was not in production at the time. Just 2 months later, on June 5, 1968, Senator Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated. Again, while the country reeled in horror, Brennan is said to have celebrated. Those same sources claimed he expressed similar satisfaction upon learning of RFK's death. His hatred for the Kennedys was well known. As a fervent John Birch Society member, he saw them as part of the liberal establishment leading the country to communist ruin. But to allegedly celebrate the violent death of a political opponent crosses a line from extremism into something far more sinister. It suggests a complete dehumanization of his ideological enemies. These horrifying accounts, while disputed, are consistent with Brennan's documented behavior and beliefs. He had spent years demonizing the civil rights movement and its leaders. In his worldview, the deaths of King and Kennedy weren't just murders. They were victories in his twisted war against communism. As the culture shifted in the late 60s and early 70s, Brennan's views became increasingly fringe. He still had a loyal fan base among older, more conservative audiences, but many in the EEEA industry were alienated by his outspoken bigotry. His reputation began to be defined more by his hateful rhetoric than by his 3 Oscars. In his final years, Brennan's health declined due to emphysema. His last screen appearance was in the 1975 film Smoke in the Wind, released after his death. Walter Brennan died on September 21, 1974, at the age of 80, leaving behind a profoundly fractured legacy. How do we remember a man like Walter Brennan? Do we celebrate the artist or condemn the man? In Brennan's case, the gap between the two is almost impossibly wide. On one hand, his artistic contributions are undeniable. With over 230 film credits and a TV career that made him a household name, he was one of the most prolific actors in Hollywood history. His 3 Academy Awards are a testament to a rare talent. For his work, he has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and was inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers. But on the other hand, there is the dark legacy of the man himself. The Walter Brennan, who was a proud member of the John Birch Society, consumed by political paranoia and racial animosity. The man who, according to numerous reports, used his folksy persona as a weapon to spread hate. The man who allegedly viewed the civil rights movement as a communist plot and suggested rioters be met with machine guns. And most disturbingly, the man who reportedly celebrated the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. To separate the art from the artist, in this case, feels like ignoring the truth. The bigotry wasn't a minor flaw, it was an ideology he actively promoted using the very platform his art gave him. The character of America's grandpa was more than just a role, it was a deceptive shield behind which one of Hollywood's most vicious bigots could hide in plain sight. The story of Walter Brennan is a chilling reminder that the images we see on screen can be a profound illusion. His legacy isn't just one of cinematic achievement, but one of moral failure. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that a person can be both a brilliant artist and a deeply hateful human being. The evil of Walter Brennan wasn't in the characters he played, but in the terrifying reality of the man he was when the cameras stopped rolling. So, what do you think? Is it possible to separate Walter Brennan's incredible acting from his repulsive personal beliefs? Or does his off-screen hatred permanently taint his legacy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this look into the dark side of classic Hollywood interesting, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories that reveal the hidden truths behind the stars you thought you knew.